really thank everyone for coming out this morning. This is an awesome morning. All the way from Australia. Leon and Joyce.
Yeah. What do you say, Sachse?
I'm going to say Sachse. I've learned a little bit. We can say Sachse, we can say Sachse, we can say Sachse.
Sachse.
Sachse is German, in Germany, is that right?
Yeah,
what are some of the others?
We get called Sachse, Sashi, we get called...
And
I'll tell you how hard it is to spell the surname. I had 4 boys playing in 4 different football sides, like under 13s, under 16s, seconds and seniors. When they put football teams up in the town and the local thing, every one of their surnames is spelled different. They all play for the same football team. So
that's pretty good.
the hardest part's getting there. We've got 4 sons, and the hardest part's their wives learning how to spell their name.
We get that here on Sachse quite a bit. Sachse and just everything. So everybody kind of runs off it. But we're so excited that you're here. And I've got a proclamation I would like to present to you all this time.
Thank you. Okay. We weren't expecting this. I was expecting us to change the patches and go to the Historical Society and see what we can find out.
We're really excited. So this proclamation will read, whereas William Sachse founded what was to become the community of Sachse in 1886. And whereas the Sachse family name has a great tradition that spans the entire globe. And whereas Leon Sachse, a descendant of Prussian Saxes who immigrated to Australia and who retired after a public service career as a firefighter, has traveled around the world to visit the American city bearing his family's name. And whereas the city of Sachse, Texas is proud and honored to welcome Leon and his wife Joyce with open arms. And whereas it is only fitting that the citizens of Sachse should pause and reflect upon what the Sachse family name has meant to the community that has prospered into the successful family-oriented city with the small-town charm that it is today. Now therefore, by the powers vested in me as mayor of the great city of Sachse, Texas, I do hereby proclaim July 29, 2014 as Leon Sachse Day, in recognition of all the many accomplishments attained by the Sachse family and the positive impact the Sachse family has had on the thousands of lives who have felt the Sachse family legacy. Thank you very much.
That's it.
Thank you. Chief of the City of Sachse, Texas, in this meeting.
Sachse, Texas. So let's talk about this firefighter thing for get outlook.
I was in the police force.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I spent 37.5 years in the police force.
Okay. Is it public safety where you did fire and police?
Well, you helped them all that. You did,
Yeah.
rescue side. But you did help the fire brigade out because they were volunteers. So you'd always help them out. And one of the towns I lived in, the ambulance was volunteers.
Sure.
So you sort of help them. Everybody just pulled together.
Whereabouts are you from?
I was originally from South Australia, where the ancestors came from. I was born and brought up in a little town called Loxton, which is probably not little now, 7,000 people in Australia. I don't know if anybody knows much about Australia at all. Australia's got a population of 25 million people.
Well, you don't look a thing like Mad Max.
No.
We've seen those historical dramas.
But I was born and brought up in Loxton, and my ancestors settled in what they called Ebenezer, which is at Adelaide. There's no such place anymore. It's about Prussia and Germany, and which is near Nuremberg, or it's a big German community with grapevines, a lot of grapes, and then my father shifted out from there and went into country farming. Saxons all do, all went into farming, and if you go through the book, you'll find out the ones that went to Western Australia were all on farms. And I joined the police force at 16 in South Australia as a cadet, and then did 2 years, and I moved to Melbourne, did 20 weeks training, and spent the next 34.5 years in Victoria. And like, it's not like in America where you've got your city and Saxon, and you've got your chief, and you've got your thing, then you go to the next county, you've got another bloke. Victoria got one police force.
Yeah, national.
New South Wales got one police force. Western Australia, like covers a third of Australia, they've got one police force, and they actually, if they're right up the top, the Kununurra area, they've got to fly their members back to Perth. They can't drive, like a 3-day drive. But you're all in this, you're actually employed by the state.
Yeah.
By the state of Victoria.
Well, we actually think there's really only one here too.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
So, gosh,
But Joyce grew up in Melbourne, so she's, and we've traced her history, and that's why I want to do mine. She goes back to the Vikings. Her ancestry goes right back through Scotland and back to the Vikings, and so we've traced hers back, or her sister has. And so, but I keep getting nervous. So every time, I've even had an exchange student, his father was in the police force in Germany. So you see if you can research with the Sachse family for me. You don't hear back. Then I found the bloke's half-sister, and he lived in Germany. So you get these letters at the police station, they're all written in German. Or you've got some photo, and I can't speak German because Mum wouldn't let us speak German in the house. So I took it up to Lutheran school, and they translated on. He was looking for his half-sister, his step-sister. And she'd been in Australia for 17 years, or since 1969, was back in early 1990 or something. So I finished up finding her in Sunshine in Melbourne, married with a couple of kids. I rang her up to the car, I was trying to find her. Yeah. So all of a sudden he'd been in the East German Air Force, and he sent me out all these hats and barrows. And I said, well, can you just do some research for me? The Sachse side of the family. And then move back. So I don't know whether there's something over there that people want to hide or too scared to look at. But if you go, I don't know if anybody's ever tapped it into the computer. They've got there's actually like a state or a thing over there called Sachse. And there was also prisoner of war camps named after Sachse in Germany. So I don't know what side. But my father fought for Australia in the Second World War. My grandfather, I think he was, even though he was naturalised in Australia, because they moved around on different farms, he lost his naturalisation certificate. And during the First World War, he was taken away from his family and put on a railroad until literally, in the book it'll say that his wife had another baby and he went home, but it was after the war that he glad to go back home, even though he was a naturalised Australian. And he had a copy of his naturalised, they still returned. So, yeah.
Well,
so it gets interesting.
We've got some loot for you. Captain Apples. As I mentioned, the fire chief, we had a big fire last night and also heard. So the fire chief is busy, and Captain Apples is going to stand in here.
This is from our pipes and drums from the fire department. This, of course, you have to be safe. Keep your head safe. This is a retired husband in our department. Take it with you. Have safe travels. Coin from our 50th anniversary of the fire department, which was 2 years ago, I believe. The fire department's been here for 50 years. We had a coin pressed for it. Badge of our department. And then our patches. This was basically our original patch of the department that was with us for the first 50 years or so. We decided to do a little upgrade, give you a copy of each. So by the time you leave here, you can be fully dressed out as a Sachse firefighter.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Very good to meet you.
Yeah, I've got some patches over there for you, or chief over my bag too.
Oh, great.
So I will get them down there.
Okay.
we haven't bought as much stuff because we're restricted on what we can carry.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
We've got a stubby holder.
Oh, yes.
I don't care who has it, whether you want it or your chief gets it.
I'll choose one.
That's it. What do you call them over here?
Koozie.
Koozie.
A Foster's won't fit in that though, right?
Yeah, it does. They'll fit in there. They'll fit in there. There's a hat just with an Australian kangaroo on it.
Awesome.
Right. A friend of ours is in the. It's from Queensland, not from Victoria. So I can always get some. Try and chase him up from Victoria. But he actually run across from. The friend of mine run from Los Angeles to New York with some firefighters not long after 7/11, and they run the whole distance to raise money. So the heap of firefighters come to Australia. There's a Northern Territory police badge, Victorian police badge, South Australian police badge, New South Wales police badge, Western Australian police badge, and that's our search and rescue from Victoria's badge. Now the search and rescue, those people who go around cutting bodies out of cars or sandbagging people's houses, and they're all volunteers too. We've got a lot of volunteers in Australia. So the only state that he's missing is Tasmania and Queensland. So you can take them with you.
Thank you very much.
You put them up at work or you can
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. We do. We have some display cases. We'll take care of them. Well, we've got a hat with, because everything's got your name on it. You know, so I started looking and it's like, everything's already got your name on it. A neighborhood watch with your name on it. A police badge.
I might reinstate myself.
Well, you do what you want to in Australia. A couple of coins, like they have. Gave you two, so you can give one to somebody back home.
All right, yeah.
Somebody back there, I suspect, would like to have one.
We just had a new granddaughter born while we're over here, so we might give it to her.
Okay. We have two patches as well, our regular patch, and the one that most people don't get is our traffic unit. We have motorcycles.
Yeah.
And so it has wings on it, and we don't give that very often. So the flags are yours as well.
Very good. I don't know if anybody noticed, but when Denise was here, I was talking about, I got flag poles at home, two of them. I'm going to put up a couple more. We always fly an Australian flag like everybody. On the other flag, we fly flags from wherever we've been or what we're involved in. So we live in a community of around 57 people. We haven't even got the nearest police station is like 15, 20 miles away. So, and our fire brigade's 2 trucks and a tin shed. We've got schools, we've got 30 kids. We've got a general store that gives petrol. We still pick up a mail from the general store, like we did in the 40s. We've got one church, and we've got a bar, bistro type thing that's like an old shearing shed. I don't know if anybody's seen a shearing shed in Australia. It's built like a shearing shed, and you walk inside, it's just like a big old shearing shed. Then you have your meals. We've got a chef from Nepal, and so that's our town. That's around 50 people. So, and I fly these flags, and the kids go past and they try and guess where I've been or where we've been.
Well, I believe they'll know.
Yeah. So, everybody drives past just to see what flags are flying. And
Well, I got interest. You got Texas and you got Sachse.
No, that's excellent.
That's wonderful.
Just to show you when you're after 30 years in Victoria, they'll actually give you, I can't give this away, that's the identification that when you're in the police force. So when you've done 30 years, they'll mark it retired and you're allowed to keep it. If you're under 30 years, they take it off you.
I can't believe they let you retire at such a young age.
53 is enough, 37 years. Isn't it?
I'm at like 42 years and still going.
Other than a small town where you get covered, like there's only 3 of us, we're covering 2,500 square kilometres. And then further in charge of that station, the sergeant from the next town went away on holiday, I had to do his job.
Yeah.
And then on weekends I could be covering anything up to 4-hour drive.
Wow.
So, and by the time we got there, it's nearly all over and you've got to drive back again. But you can get called out at knock off at 2 o'clock in the morning, get called out at 2:30 in the morning, you might get home at 8 o'clock in the morning, go back to work at 9, so you've had an hour slow.
This sounds an awful lot like West Texas.
Yeah, we don't, over home, we had firearms, well, they used to have firearms, they used to sit in the back of the car. And if I went to a domestic argument, all I had was a handcuff and spray in the pocket. In 37 years, I probably used my handcuffs 4 times, never used my bat and never fired again. So
That's pretty good.
if you can talk to people, well, there was other means of getting them down on the ground with that.
My record's not quite that clean, but.
So it's that one, yeah. Here we go. We've got some patches. These have been all around Canada or America.
Now, I understand you guys have been on the road since May the 7th,
May the 7th.
driving around the U.S.
In Canada.
And Canada.
And might have to sort
We get
this
a few
out.
more holidays than you.
Apparently.
I work with people with disabilities now, and they think, yeah, how long until as long as I go back to work. I can't do that. I work with last one. There's two tie tags.
Okay.
Whether you wear tie tags.
Thank you very much.
Here, like, does he wear ties? He might like one of those. Again, state emergency services. We've got protective, got more than everybody else.
Well, yeah, I got to go.
Our protective services, they look after the courts and they sort of live in New South Wales. Stripes going to there. Western Australia, Queensland Fire Brigade, Northern Territory patch, South Australian patch, German.
I've got one of those.
Another German.
Don't like that one.
Yeah, that's an old Victorian. That's a Victorian. I thought I had an old Victorian. Yep, that's an old one. One's got Tensel and Droit written underneath.
Yes.
Means to uphold the right. So you've got an old one, and there's the old stripes that one. That's the ACT where our federal government are. That's an old South Australian badge. That was my name tag that went on. Whether you want that or not, I don't know.
You know, well, I don't. Well, I started to be generous and say, we'll get that to the Historical Society, but I may have to think about that.
We've also got being a man, and you can stick all your little cards and that in the back.
Well, yeah. Well, you brought a lot of stuff.
We had a lot of people visits, so we had a lot more. I think my suitcase was full of it. Then we've got some coats that you need to leave them around your office. Some of the animals from Australia. You've got the koalas. People call them a bear, but they're not a bear. They're just a koala. Got wombat. Emus. We get them walking around where we live. Pretty out. Platypus. Kangaroos, we get them around their place in the kookaburra. Kookaburras, they've heard of kookaburra, they laugh, they actually laugh. So they have to be put around in your office or do what you like, take them home.
Okay.
I think, it's not a real, probably an expensive one like you've given me, but work on way.
Oh, there you go. So, explain the stars.
The stars, as the Southern Cross. If you go,
Up in the sky. you'll see
when
that.
you're in the south in Australia, you'll see the Southern Cross, and it gives you, if you look through the stars, and you're going across and then go down through the bottom to it, it gives you south. So if you're walking anywhere at night,
That's where it's supposed to be.
and you can see the stars,
Okay.
you'll see, you literally go down to 2 pointers.
That's neat.
Of course, you've got the Union Jack. They're trying to get our flags changed and become a republic and get away from him. because there's no benefit being with him.
Why do they go around? We kind of did our thing with England too.
Yeah. The only time I said, we call them ponds, I shouldn't. Don't print this. we call them ponds. And the English and the Australians hate each other. Literally hate each other. They call us like an offshoot of, because they, in the 1700s, they sent all their prisoners out to steal them. So we're convicts. We're all convicts. And they still treat us as convicts. And when they come to Australia, they like look down on you all the time. Like, and we kick their butt in sport all the time. They've been in the cricket, they've been in the rugby, and then go to the normal. It's the only time they got high was this year when they're in London. Normally Australia's kicking their butt in the Olympic Games, and they hate us. when we've only got 25 million people, and they got hundreds of million. So,
That's fine.
so that's all we've got. Unfortunately, after what I see, we're getting.
No.
We can always send things over.
Yeah, like those fire ones. That was I tried getting some off the blokes around home, but we're just called the Country Fire Authority, and all the badges are the same right through Victoria. But I'll try and get you them because they're all volunteers. Every fire brigade in the country, other than the cities and the bigger cities, are all volunteers. So, and when, I don't know whether anybody's seen the big fires we had in the Grampians and that about 6 years ago, or they went right around that block. So, they were volunteers.
Well, our fire department started as volunteer, and it was essentially until very few years ago.
Yeah, probably 2008 or 9 is when our last volunteer was retired.
Yeah.
So that's for 50 years, essentially a volunteer department.
Yeah, and they just blow a siren in the middle of the night, and these blokes, they got beepers now, but they used to rely on the siren in the town and call that fire brigade. But now they've got beepers on some of them, and they get there. But you know, like some of them would be fighting a fire. And when we had the big one go through, and last year was January this year, then another one coming through the Granby from the other way, and it kept coming, it would have destroyed Hall's Gap, which is a big touristy area, and where we would have been but in the mountains, it wouldn't have been any good at all. But there's some wonderful stories go out of the fires, because there was an elderly couple, and they're in their 80s, living on like 26 acres, and it's all gardens, and in the 1930s, where we lived from home, actually got burnt out. Then the people that owned on the property, the only way they survived it was they went down this well, about 10 metres deep, and they survived the fire. This time the same thing happened to these people.
Well, Billy, did you want to add anything?
I just thank you for coming. We're glad you're here. Feel free to stay as long as you like. This room is yours as long as you like it. At some point, you're going to have to go back to work. So
That's right. It'd be nice to get some of the other people and get their details, and we can keep in contact.
But you get donuts and coffee and drinks.
Good man. Anything?
But, like if anybody, you've got my email, if anybody wants to tour over in Australia and you want to stay somewhere, just go out. Because you'll find that, like, we don't have any visitors in our house, people won't matter. But we're sort of literally in the middle of Victoria, so we're 2 hours from everywhere.
I'm thinking about the sheep shearing place.
Yeah, that's good. It is good.
Well, thank you all so much for coming. We just welcome you so much, and thank you.
Thank you. Just thank you for we weren't expecting any of this. I was expecting to change the badges and give some to the chief and just go to the historical society. So I didn't even know that there were any people from there.
We have one more presentation.
I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Craig Jones. I'm a great-great-grandson of William Sachse. We're glad to meet you. And the Historical Society, and remember I was going to present the book my mother wrote to you. And this is William Sachse's son, Jake Sachse, who was a big farmer and rancher, married my grandmother, who was 89, driving a Maxwell out here in Saxe. Jake Sachse was my great uncle. My mother wrote the book and goes into the history of the family. Historical Society, we wanted to present this
Thank you very much.
with the Texas version of it here. And like I said, Jake Sachse was a son of William Sachse and a big farmer. And the Historical Society was nice enough to put my grandkids and me July 1st this year picking corn in one of his original corn fields about 2 miles from where we're here. We still have it.
Still have the time.
Yeah, most of it is gone. Some of these gentlemen still have some, Sachse relatives have some of the land too. This is less, Sachse's cultivated land, it's 50 corn, so we pulled some corn there. This goes into a little bit of history. And I thought I'd pass that on to you. And they're very glad you're here, and hope you enjoy the book.
I will.
And some of my kin folks here probably want to say hello to you.
There is a second book too, there is. Talk about the second book,
The past city manager,
Yes.
Lloyd Henderson, wrote this book, and it's great. It tells great detail when the railroad came through in the 1880s. How they named the town, and up in, I think, Ashton, Kansas, they didn't know how to spell the German name Sachse, if I remember right. And my mother said they had the first signpost here in Sachse in the 1890s with the name spelled S-A-X-I-E, like phonetically it's pronounced. I understand William Sachse sent them a letter saying, that's not the way we spell it.
But people ask me, and I just said, well, pronounce it S-A-X and you'll get it.
Yeah.
And some spell it S-A-C-K, some spell it S-A-S-C-H.
S-A-E, it throws people think the German name Saxon, I think it's fairly common, but the E,
No, it's not common.
is that right? Well, I've seen Saxon in different names through the years, but the E is what seems to throw the pronunciation of it off.
So the I've given a book to somebody out here that I brought over too, that's got all the Victorian, all the Australian ones that involved in 4 different families that are associated with my grandfather, great-grandfather. So he's got brothers.
How long has your family been in Australia? You may have already mentioned that.
Since 1860, I don't know, what's in 1860s or 1860s. They landed, I know the great-grandfather landed in Adelaide.
1855.
1855.
Now, this is a naive question before our great-grandfather came here and wound up landing in Texas after a number of years, getting a land grant from the new state of Texas in around 1854, so he got it, I believe. But your branch of the family, did it go through the United States and to Australia, straight to Australia?
They went through, I don't know if the classes with me, so I can't read it. You can read the book later on, but they must have all went through somewhere in Germany to get out here, because it was when the Prussian was sort of breaking up. But it's hard to find out. Pretty good here. When you sort of read through there, that's my program. They don't even know when he was born. They know he was born in 1835, but 1860 he was married, so he was born in 1835, right? So but down here they'll tell you how he come to get to Australia. It was through Germany, but how they found that out, I don't know. But it's some of the information, like with the elder centres, like our kids' names, was some was spelled wrong. You'll find that, like I said, with the William, his name was probably Wilhelm.
Yeah, that's what I've always said. It's probably Wilhelm in German.
Yeah, and he would have had another Christian name. He would have had another Christian name. But they just don't have normally the one like he had one, but my grandfather had 3. He had Wilhelm.
Wilhelm. Frederick Sachse. Wilhelm. Yeah.
So that was my grandfather, and he came out when he was 3. So
wow.
He was only 3. So, but they all went through, like I said, they would have left Prussia and worked their way into Germany so they could actually get the boat to get to Australia.
That's so interesting, it really is. I think in my mother's book, she pointed out that Sachse came here in the 1840s. His father in Prussia, I think it's Erfurt, Prussia. I mean, it's pronounced would be a hotel keeper.
Yeah. And these were all farmers. That's what I said.
Sachse got here, of course, they all were farmers too.
And this is one of the relations on the other father's side. You can tell by the nose that he looks just like my uncle.
Very good.
So, but he was like he was nothing. in Western Australia, but he's spitting image of my uncle.
That's great.
So, and you'll pick out faces that look exactly like him, but
I'm sure.
and you can tell they've got to be related somewhere. So like, even the gentleman over here, I've got a cousin that's, he's on the beer side of it, but he's spitting image like this.
Very good.
So that's here to stay. So,
All righty.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
And it's going to be interesting to sort of find out, well, there's a map in here where my ancestors come from, put a line in here to Toosville. This is where William Sachse came from.
Now, is it pronounced Hereford or Hereford, Russia? Okay. Okay. Don't even ask me to pronounce
I
it.
think it's Toosville. And there's no such place anymore.
Well, between the world wars, it's kind of mountains between Poland and East Germany.
And that's why I asked this other East German bloke whether he'd do a bit of research. Either he died or he run into something he didn't want to pass on, so I don't know. There's also another relation, now his name is Bert, but it wouldn't be Bert, he's something else. But he was a chef, and there's a lot of chefs, I don't know over here, there's a lot of chefs in the Sachse side of the family over home. I've got a son that's a chef, I've got a nephew that's a chef. My dad used to be a cook in the army. And there's also a bloke called Bert Sachse, and he was a chef in Perth. And have you ever heard of a pavlova?
That's a national sweet.
It's a national sweet made out of egg whites.
That's all.
And he actually sort of invented it for Anna Pavlova when she visited Perth. That Anna Pavlova, the Russian ballet dancer, when she visited Perth, he actually made this cake up for her and named it after her, Pavlova. So
But the New Zealanders,
they claim it.
they claim it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's anything anybody else wants to know, or about our history, or about families, or I'll try and help you out as much.
I wish somebody had eaten donuts, because I'm going to
And if anybody wants to know anything else,
Thank you so much.
Because your dad was, your grandpa was trying to, thanks for coming, hon. Yeah, your dad?
It's my dad's dad.
Yeah, your grandpa, okay. Are you brother and sister?
Yes.
Yeah, you look alike. So you're Bobby's son's kid?
Yes.
Yeah, because you look like him. Well, thanks for coming to do this.
Thank y'all for letting us come.
Well, yeah. Did you get a donut?
Yes, it was a lot of fun. It's interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
See, especially when he said, I see my cousins, in your faces. That's neat.
Yeah, they drove a long way and flew a long way to get here. And plus, they've been traveling since like May 7th. That's a lot.
I think there's 50 people. It's like we used to live a long time ago.
And then tore this church down.
So you're their friend from Missouri? West Virginia. How do you know them? I'm Diana. Oh, you did?
And that church was
Recently, we've just gone to Europe.